My wife's screams drowned out everything: the ambulance sirens, the shouts of the guard, even the pounding of my own heart. And we were stuck just feet from the hospital entrance, blocked by a shiny black Range Rover whose owner thought his property rights mattered more than my wife's life. In that moment, with Sarah doubled over in pain, gasping for air, I swear I realized I was staring at the most selfish man alive. I should probably start from the beginning. My name's Daniel Miller, and I live in a place called Pine Brook Glade, one of those suburban communities where people pay HOA dues and get told what color to paint their mailbox. My wife Sarah is a doctor, an obstetrician, and she was also about to give birth to our first child. You'd think the worst thing that could happen during that drive to the hospital would be traffic, or maybe a flat tire. But no. The real nightmare was waiting for us at the ER entrance. The man in the Range Rover was Gregory Vaughn, president of our HOA. You know the type, red-faced from too much golf and whiskey polo shirt tucked into khakis, eyes that never blink when he's lecturing you about how your lawn doesn't meet community standards. He'd spent years lording over our neighborhood like a mini dictator, but this time he went too far. We pulled up, Sarah groaning every 3 minutes with contractions, and I could already see the flashing red sign, emergency entrance, no parking. Except there he was leaning against his luxury SUV, arms crossed, barking at the hospital security guard like it was his personal valet service. "I pay property taxes in this neighborhood," he shouted. "This lot is part of the community. You can't tell me where I can and can't park my vehicle." I nearly dropped the oxygen tank I was holding for Sarah. My blood pressure spiked so fast I thought I might pass out. "Hey pal, my wife is in labor. We need to get inside now." I pointed at Sarah, who was hunched over on the sidewalk, her face pale, her breaths shallow. Gregory turned his head slowly, eyes squinting like I was some annoying insect buzzing too close to his ear. Then he smirked. "Buddy, I was here first. You think your little problem is more important than my right to protest this hospital's blatant disregard for property owner privileges?" For a second I couldn't even form words. My jaw just hung open. Was he serious? My wife's about to deliver a baby in a parking lot, and this man is talking about privileges. "Sir, it's an emergency bay," the security guard said, clearly exhausted from dealing with him. "We need to keep it clear." Gregory just shrugged, the smell of his cologne, cheap Old Spice, mixed with arrogance, wafting through the humid night air. "Tough luck," he muttered, leaning back against his Range Rover like he was posing for a commercial. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm waiting for a package delivery." A package? He was blocking an ER entrance for a package. I wanted to grab him by the collar, slam him against the hood of his car, and scream until he moved. But Sarah let out a blood-curdling cry, and that sound stopped me cold. It reminded me that this wasn't just about my rage, it was about her and our baby. I crouched down beside her, squeezing her hand, whispering, "Just hold on, we'll get through this." But deep down, a poisonous thought slipped in. What if we wouldn't? What if my hesitation, my inability to get past this smug bastard cost us everything? I felt useless, powerless. The guy with all the strength in the world couldn't even clear a single car from a driveway. For a terrifying minute, I actually considered giving up driving around, finding another entrance, even though it would take 10 more minutes. But then, what 10 minutes could mean the difference between life and death? I hated myself for even thinking it, for feeling that flicker of surrender. Just when despair was about to crush me, my phone buzzed. A notification from the hospital's patient portal. I glanced at the screen, not even caring what it was, until my eyes widened. It was a paging alert for Dr. Sarah Miller, my wife. The message read, "Emergency delivery patient in ER, immediate assistance required." And then, like a lightning bolt, the kicker. The patient was the father of the hospital administrator's spouse. I looked at Gregory, and I swear for the first time all night I smiled. It wasn't joy, it was something darker, sharper. He noticed right away. What he sneered. "Did your little wife finally figure out I'm not moving?" I stepped closer, my voice calm, almost too calm. "Nah, man. That alert I just got. Turns out my wife isn't just having a baby tonight. She's also an attending obstetrician here. And guess who she's been paged to deliver?" His smug mask cracked instantly. The blood drained from his cheeks. He blinked, processing my words, then looked back at Sarah, then at the guard, then back at me. "Your father-in-law," I whispered so only he could hear. "He's the patient in there. While you've been out here throwing a tantrum about property rights, he's inside waiting on the doctor you're keeping out. Tell me, Gregory, how are you going to explain that to your wife?" The guard gave a little shrug like he'd just witnessed karma in real time. Gregory staggered back, fumbling for his phone, his voice breaking. "Babe, what's going on? They said your dad's in the ER. But I thought you worked in administration, not—" His words dissolved into panic. And just then, a second ambulance came roaring down the street, sirens blaring, pulling up behind his Range Rover, trapping him in like a rat in a cage. Paramedics leapt out, rushing toward Sarah with a gurney. They didn't waste a single glance on Gregory as they bypassed his car, lifting my wife into safety. As they wheeled Sarah inside, relief hit me so hard I almost collapsed. Her cries shifted to gasps of relief as doctors surrounded her. She was safe now. Our baby was safe. Meanwhile, Gregory just stood there alone, his expensive SUV now a monument to his own arrogance. He clutched his phone like it was a lifeline, whispering desperately to his wife, probably realizing the only thing he'd accomplished tonight was delaying his own father-in-law's treatment. I walked past him, slow and deliberate, pausing just long enough to lean close. "My wife is getting the help she needs," I said softly. "But your wife's father? His emergency just got a whole lot longer because you needed to prove a point. You really gonna tell her you blocked her own ER entrance for a package delivery?" He didn't answer. He couldn't. His face was pale, his lips trembling, eyes wide like a man finally staring at the ruins of his own ego. And that was it. That was all the justice I needed. As the ambulance pulled away and the sirens faded into the night, Gregory Vaughn, the untouchable HOA president, the man who ruled over our neighborhood with iron fists and violation notices, was left standing there powerless. His Range Rover sat gleaming under the hospital lights, not as a trophy, but as a gravestone for his reputation. The lesson. Sometimes karma doesn't need a courtroom or a jury or a fine. Sometimes all it needs is a clear parking lot.